I'm Bryn Blaze with the Career Conversations podcast, and today I'm here with.
Pat Bulger. I'm an infrastructure engineer in information technology.
Could you describe in 3 to 5 words who you were as a high school student?
Hmm. Uh, Probably take more words than that,
Oh,
but
good.
I was probably I was not a great student. I didn't fit in that box.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things like I like love history and I do like to read and those, and I like science and everything, but high school just wasn't my thing, and where I went to school, we didn't have alternatives like, like a BOCES or something that was a little bit more tech driven or something like that. We didn't have those paths. So it was just, go to class, do your thing, and then oh, by the way, we want you to go to college.
Yeah. I got you. So can you tell us about how you started to where you ended up now?
Yeah. It's kind of, like a friend of a friend kind of a thing, got into with a contractor up in Syracuse and was pulling cable and, doing stuff for telephones and computer cable and stuff like that. And got an opportunity at a higher ed institute to, be able to go and be a technician there, learn, all kinds of stuff about, more about phones and more about data. Got into the switches and programming and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Wireless when that was, Wi-Fi when that was just starting to get big. And, got a lot of experience running projects and stuff for different colleges, and then went on to to a project management role for for information technology, and then ended up with another small contractor, doing work doing work, but also doing estimating and bidding jobs and running work and being a manager of people and that kind of thing. And all those years of combined experience kind of ended up adding up to having the chops to walk into an engineering role at a higher ed institute.
Yeah.
So kind of a 25-year college. So, it wasn't 4 years into a job. It was, 25 years, but I wouldn't have done it any other way. I mean, that was my path.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. So you didn't go for college?
No, that was never on my radar.
Okay. And for people who are listening that might not want to go the route of college, would you recommend going to maybe climb higher, or are there different opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say do something.
Yeah.
A lot of the jobs that we got when we were, in high school, those are not the ones you continue on as careers usually. If you wanted to get into go to college and learn, try to be focused, and on something, know what you want to go do, but it's hard to do when you're 18. I know I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 40. So, but if you wanted to go into, like, if you like me, I liked working with my hands. Yeah. So I was either going to work on cars or build houses. And I did both those things and just kind of ended up finding a way to get here. It was not an easy, it wasn't easy, but
yeah, of course.
But there's a lot of opportunities. There's trade schools, there's 2-year schools where you go and you basically swing a hammer for 2 years, and you can learn those skills. And then there's apprenticeships. You can go and you go through like a 5-year apprenticeship. You go to school a couple nights, one night a week during the school year, and then but the rest of the time you're working and you make really good money and you get good benefits and you learn a trade, and then you'll be able to have that nice big house, a bass boat, or whatever it is that you want to have. So.
Could you describe what a typical day looks like for you?
Well, I mean, it's probably 50% planned and 50% unplanned. Where we are, it's we're driven by the needs of the university. We have to be able to pivot and change gears quickly. You never know what might be important to other people at a certain day. A lot of construction, so I try to make my rounds. I have half a dozen jobs that are ones I'm kind of taking care of the telecom part, just more or less guidance. You know, I didn't design it. I'm trying to make sure that they build it and, you know, install it the way that we need it done, so it works with all our stuff, and that it's something that we can maintain in the future. So, you know, you're hands on with these guys that went through the apprentice, you know, these
Yes.
electricians and these, you know, carpenters and engineers, you know, guys that, you know, went to college and guys that didn't go to college, and, you know, and men and women both. So, um, so we're, you know, you're out there in the field, and so a lot of time in the office. Sometimes I feel like, you know, I can spend 3 weeks in the office and I can't get out,
Yep.
and then I feel like, oh, you know, I spent a week out of the office and all I want to do is get back in the AC, you know. So, but yeah, it's I mean, it's like I said, I'm lucky. I have a really great job where I can kind of, you know, set my schedule, so to speak. I mean,
Yeah.
there's meetings and stuff that you have to go to, and there's, you know, there's deadlines and there's things that you have to meet. But for the most part, I can kind of be able to, you know, shift and work on the things I want to work on when I want to work on them. So, you know, so everything needs to get done, but it's like, you know, if I don't feel like I've just had enough of that today, I'm just shift and go and work on this thing for a little bit. So.
That's very nice. So you have a variety of options as long as they get done.
Yeah, I mean and that's the thing, is there's always something. Oh, there's always something. It never stops. I mean, I went from when you're out in the we call it the real world, you know, where it's business and it's you know, commercial, you know, business and everything. You spend a lot of your time looking for work and trying to find work, and you know, you're bidding, and you have to be very conscious of math, and like, you got to make sure that, you know, your price is low enough so you get the work, and then but not too high that, you know, you got to, but you and not too low that you don't make money, you know. So it's like it's hard, and once you win one, you're like, yay, and then, okay, well, I got to go get the next one, because when that job's done, you guys have to have work, or you're gonna have to lay them off, you know. So it never ends, you know. It's just constant cycle, but it's something that, you know, I never, you know, 30 years ago I would have probably never thought that this is what I was doing, but I love it. It's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool. So can you talk about one of the positives that you have working in the position that you do?
I mean, I get to be, you know, being in IT, and especially being in IT at a, you know, higher ed, you know, at a university, college, you're, you know, colleges and universities, they're at the forefront of, you know, they're trying to teach the students the latest and greatest, right? So you have to stay on top of that, and, you know, so that your customer is driven by, you know, the best stuff. So you get to see, you know, like, we are doing things, you know, ahead of other, you know, maybe where other businesses are not, you know, they don't have the money. You know, we have maybe bigger budgets for certain things, and we get to do some kind of neat stuff. And then we're really diverse as far as like where we are, you know, like there's, we get, you know, calls, we have, you know, there's stuff in, you know, New York City, or, you know, all over the place. So, I think that's just the breadth of all the different technologies we have to touch, because, I mean, students come from all over the world, and they come in, and they may have visited another university, and they're like, well, you know, this college has this thing, you know, and they want that there. So we've got to go get that, and we've got to figure it out and learn it, and implement it, you know, in a college atmosphere. So
that's really cool. Okay, going along with that, what is one of your least favorite parts? And if you can, maybe provide an example of a real life situation you had.
Probably having to call and somebody, or meet with somebody and tell them that we're not going to be able to give them what they want, or when they wanted it, or, you know, it could be a time frame, it could be you know, a thing that they've asked for, you know, we just can't provide that. Those ones are tough, because you know, they get, you know, especially with deadlines, you know, people want to, you know, they plan these, you know, things out just like anything. It doesn't matter if it's like what I do, or you know, with your schedule with these you know, these interviews, like, if one falls out, you know, if one falls out of line, it can kind of mess up everything. And if you're that thing that fell in line, and now you have to go and apologize and be like, we're trying to, we're trying to work through it, or we can't meet this date.
Yeah.
Those are tough, especially, I mean, most of the time people are understanding, and usually it's for a reason. It's not just because, like, hey, I just didn't feel like doing it. I mean, it would never be that. It would be, we couldn't get the materials because there's, delays in manufacturing, or there's, we can't get labor scheduled to be able to complete this work, or something like that. So those are the tough ones. I think those are the least favorite, like telling somebody I can't give you what you want.
Yeah. Oh, have you lost people due to that?
Like customers, or yeah, we sometimes you lose, you could,
okay,
probably. I mean, there are, one thing you would do is go after, like, a customer would come to you and they say, I want this and I want it in this amount of time. And in order to do that, you really have to, kind of gather up all your resources, and maybe do some things that you wouldn't normally do. So those things all cost money.
Of course.
So you are not gonna, I mean, you're in the bit, as a, if you're running a business, or you're, in business, you're not in the business of losing money. So you have to make sure that everything is accounted for, everything's covered. And obviously we're not looking to just break even, right? We need to, make a little money, you got to buy the boss a new boat, or, you gotta do, so, he wants a new pair of shoes or something, so, you adjust your pricing to reflect, so a job that might normally take 2 weeks and the customer wants it in 3 days could cost twice as much. And, you give them that price, and then you get in this, like, well, geez, it wasn't that much last time, or it wasn't, it's like, well, hey, we've got to pull in resources, we've got to rent equipment that we would normally have available, that kind of stuff. And then sometimes you just get, they'll just go someplace else. But a lot of times, I've been lucky where I worked for companies that were, top-notch quality of work, and the stuff we did, so that, somebody might go someplace else for a cheaper price or something like that. And, they would come back because they'd be like, all right, I guess we see what we're paying for, But I mean, that's the thing. It's the effort, by caring about what you do, and caring about your customers, and trying to give them the best thing. I mean, that's not cheap. That's, you're talking about, guys that have been trained, and, spend a lot of time doing this, a lot of experience. You're buying their experience, so stuff's not cheap. And there you go. There's another one of those conversations. Sorry, it's going to cost, this much. So.
Okay. What equipment do you work with, either daily or monthly?
Well, I mean, myself, I'm more removed from the field, but,
Gotcha.
I mean, I still do, I still muck around a little bit, probably to my boss's, he gets a little nervous when I walk out of the office on a Friday with a pair of cutters in my hand. But, basic hand tools. But we get into, we do fusion splicers that, they actually weld fiber optic glass, the glass together. So, everybody that has TV at home or has internet or whatever, I mean, that stuff all rides on fiber optics, and that's a lot of what we do today. We do a lot more of that than we ever did in the past, because everything's on the network. There's, like I said, hand tools, the splicers, our computers are a pretty good tool. We do, ladders, and sometimes we're on lifts, like powered lifts or bucket trucks, or, we do manhole entries. So there's, a whole safety kind of you have to be careful, because I mean, there's, you open a manhole, it looks like it's a concrete box with a bunch of wires in it, but, it's underground. So there's gases that come out of the ground. So you have to be careful. You have to measure. So there's like measuring tools for measuring the air, make sure the oxygen and the carbon dioxide levels are where they need to be. And, so safety is a huge part of it. That kind of, basically, like I said, just, mostly hand tools and stuff like that. But I mean, I guess your brain is your biggest
tool.
So, a lot of things to remember, a lot of things to
Yeah.
uh, work with. So,
Okay. And problem solving in this field, I have talked to a couple IT people
hmm
who have continuously said problem solving is a
yeah, I
thing.
mean, it's you got to be quick on your feet.
Yes.
A lot of times, like I said, it's time is money,
Mhm.
and when people are standing around waiting for a decision, they need something fixed or done, or
Mhm.
uh, you got to be able to, it's more than just remembering what you did last time.
Yeah.
It's what how's this, you have to shape it for how it's going to fit in this instance,
Mhm.
and maybe you're already working with something that's already like half started, and you
Yeah.
kind of have to get them to shift gears, so um yeah, so you're it's not just the problem solving the physical problem like the construction part or something like that. It's the people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then like as you go like you know at a college there's all different kinds of people, right?
Yes.
And just like in high school, there's all different kinds of people, and you have to kind of learn how to deal with that's probably one of your biggest tools is learning how to deal with different people.
Yeah.
And some people you can be blunt and to the point and they get it and they move on, and
Mhm.
some people need it sugar coated or kind of like maybe ease into it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
um it's so you have to learn how to work with people. I mean, it's
Yeah.
so there's a lot of that, and I'm not probably the best at it. I mean, I'm kind of I'm an introverted person, so I don't really like that's not really my jam. But when I'm at work,
Mhm.
I know my stuff, right?
Yeah.
So like when it's something I really know and I'm passionate about because I want to do good work, I
Mhm.
want to help people and I want people to be happy. So
Yeah.
you find it in yourself to do that, have those talks or figure out those problems,
Mhm.
and sometimes they're not like something you can figure out today. I mean, one thing I learned my current bosses taught me, like you're as an engineer, you're allowed the time to think about something.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you can't give an answer right away. We take a step back. Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's a day, maybe it's a week. I
Mhm.
need to digest this. I need to kind of think through it and kind of think, is there a better way or a different way, or how the heck am I going to fix this?
Yeah.
So um, yeah, that's problem solving is I did a lot of that today. So, as a matter of fact, so
I see. Okay, building off problem solving, what do you feel are good qualities that one should possess to make it in this career field?
um, I don't know. I mean, this career field or any career field, you gotta kind of you gotta love what you do. I
Mhm.
think. I mean, I guess you don't have to love it, but you gotta like it enough to want to be good at it.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, that's how you move on. That's how you move on and move up. That's how you show people that you're worth putting the time and effort into.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it all by yourself. You need people around you to guide you, to mentor you,
Mhm.
and whether they know it or not, that they're helping you.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the guys that I learned coming up, I learned from coming up through the ranks. You know, don't realize I still look to them as mentors.
Yeah.
But I mean, just like you got it's up to you. It's up to you. The qualities you need are the ones that, um, the same ones that get you out of bed every morning and you know make your bed if you do that, or
Mhm.
big sharp. Get to work and just try to be good at what you do. It doesn't matter if you're the fry guy at McDonald's or if you're designing the next greatest skyscraper.
Yeah.
You gotta um care about what you do, want to be better at it.
Mhm.
And that's what I mean. For me, like I didn't, like we already kind of discussed, like I didn't go to college.
Yeah.
I wanted to be good at this. My drive was my family, I went to, you go to job sites and you see a guy with a really nice truck.
Yeah.
I
I
want
want
that
that.
nice truck.
Yeah.
How do I get that nice truck? He's in charge. He's the foreman. How do I get to be a foreman? You get to know all this stuff and you get to be good at it and you can run the crew. Okay, I'm going to work on that. And then you just kind of take those steps. And my schooling was my own. I
Yeah.
did my own lesson plan. I did my own curriculum. How do I get to that point? How do I get, oh, this guy's got he's got this, or man, I really want to be able to work and travel, or
Yeah.
like, and all that takes money. So how do you get to where you want to be in life? You got to work at it. It's
Yeah.
all work. So
That's
love
pretty
what you
cool.
do, I think.
I like that way of thinking, actually. That's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably not what everybody, yeah. But it could be too. I mean, like a lot of people, they may think that way and they just don't know it.
Yeah, sure.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Yeah, that's awesome. Uh, I just have one more question for you. Do you use any, not necessarily academic resources that help you in your journey? These could be like audiobooks, podcasts, books.
um, Google.
Yeah.
Honestly, YouTube. I mean, I taught for a little while at the electrical union. I taught teledata down there.
Yeah.
That was one of the first things I'd tell them is, Google it. I mean,
Yep.
it is the information is out there, and we would do, we would do our stuff, and other instructors would have, quizzes and tests that were all closed book, and I was like, no, it's all open book, and they're like, wow, that's great. I'm like, well, because when you get this job, when you're out there, you're gonna have your phone in your pocket, and you're gonna run into something that you don't know what it is, or maybe you don't understand it. Look it up. Exactly. I mean, and that's like, it's so much easier now than it was when I was a kid. Like if I wanted to look something up, I had to, get a hall pass, go down to the library, go through the Dewey Decimals, with the cards, and then, you have to go find the book, and then it smelled funny, and it was just like, it took forever, and this is what, like, school back then was like not my thing. It was just, everything was just so many steps, and it was just, but now it's just so easy to learn things. I mean, my children know, they know a lot. They know stuff about things that I would never even think they knew about because they watched a podcast, or they listened to a podcast, or they looked it up on Google, or watched YouTube videos, or somebody on a Twitch stream mentioned it, or something like that, and that's the part of that passion thing. Like that's how you find out from other people, like, how did they get there? How did they get to where, just like you with your, where you're trying to get to, you're going to run into people and be like, man, how did they get there? Was it just that one interview or that one thing I did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say, honestly, yeah. Google. I look it up on the internet. Anytime somebody's like, I'll look something up, or somebody will ask me, I'm like, what the heck are they talking about? Oh, I got you. Yeah. So.
And now, like, resources with ChatGPT and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm not that far yet. Yeah, there's people around that I will admit I had to write an email to somebody, and I was trying to make a sentence, and I just couldn't put it together. Yeah. But I knew what words I wanted to use, so I threw that in there, and I did use a sentence from ChatGPT.
Oh my goodness, you're gonna get flagged.
Yeah, yeah, but it's but it's a tool, right? It's another resource. It's like, it goes to, like, perception is everything. If you can use a resource like that, not in a plagiaristic kind of a fashion, but if you could use a resource like that and maybe, just like tweak it a little bit, or try to use it to write, an email, or write a resume, or write, something like that. Not all of us are, like, I've never got good grades in English, you know what I mean? And, but I listened, and I did learn a lot. And then through business and through work, you get better. You read other people's emails, you read articles, you start to get those kinds of things, and you can shape and stuff, so you, you can sound like you really know what you're talking about, and that's, and sometimes that's all it takes is it just, you could have one person write something that's 2 lines and every word is misspelled. And then you can have another person write something that's a nice formed paragraph with, some nice big words and stuff like that. Yeah. And it makes all the difference. I'm going to listen to this guy. This guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. This guy, I don't know. So much. But yeah, yeah, just, there's so many tools out there. There's no excuse anymore. There really isn't. But you got to retain it. You got to learn it. And it just goes back to that. You want to have those things because you don't want to rely on those tools because, if you rely on ChatGPT or some sort of AI to write all your stuff, and then your instructor or your professor or somebody calls you out, and you're like, oh,
Whoops.
you know, I don't remember anything that I wrote, because I didn't write it, so, I mean, you got to retain it. You want to be, I mean, and that goes like, going back to that problem solving and stuff like that. That's, being quick on your feet, having that knowledge, retaining all that stuff so that you can, that's, you're gaining all that knowledge and experience. And so the next time, I won't say that every interaction I've ever had with a customer or a client or something was a good one, but you learn from those ones, and then you go to the next one, and you can start to sense when they're going sideways, and you're like, okay, I need to shift this one. Maybe I don't need to use so many big words. You don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of resources out there. A lot of resources.
That's awesome. That is all the questions I have for you. Is there anything else you'd like to add or share?
No, I just I guess, I mean, kind of the tone has been, like, you don't have to be, you don't have to go to college.
Yeah.
You don't have to, get a degree in whatever it is, but you do got to work.
Yes.
Sometimes it's, like I said, my path was much longer than maybe somebody else. There are kids that probably went to college and they're doing the same thing that I'm doing, and they're making that good money at 20 something. And I'm, and it took me a long time to get there, and I had to work really hard to get there, but it all takes work, but you'll find your path. I mean, you gotta shape it your way, maybe, but don't quit. Just keep going and like find something you're passionate about. And, I mean, we can't all just jump in a van and drive around the world, I mean, as cool as that sounds, but we can, build things. There's people, we need builders, and we need doctors, but we need nurses, so I mean, maybe you don't go to 8 years of school, maybe you go to 2 or 4 years of school, or maybe you just go to BOCES and get that certificate so you can get started and find out if it's even for you, or maybe you're perfectly happy just checking in patients, or, so, yeah, it's all work. I guess that's what I would say, is that there's no easy route, whether it's going to college or going to work, but you can do both and be very happy, I'm sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure having you. This will conclude this episode of the Career Conversation podcast.